I'm Michelle Rodriguez. I just came over to Hobart on a with the Sea Shepherd actually, just learning about philanthropy and learning about the activists that have been doing it the longest, and who's effective at preserving what gives us life, eh? So, at the end of the day, I've come to encounter a lot of really amazing people. And in my trip over here, I was gifted a trip up by Bob Brown via helicopter over this amazing forest. And I'm kind of ashamed to say that I've never visited the redwood forest in America, which is the only equivalent I could possibly think of off the top of my head in the planet that has the similar age in trees. That haven't been decimated or torn apart on the planet, and I think that it's incredible. I had the opportunity to fly over Hobart and see the gum trees and see the ferns, and when I landed, I was introduced to this whole new world. I mean, I've never in my entire life as a human being seen something so magnanimous. I mean, the trees, I could look up, and because they're curved, from so much age, maybe the winds, for a decade happen to be a specific way or flying in a certain direction, and I can't actually see the top of the trees from the bottom down there. The beauty isn't it. The beauty isn't the only reason why I would say it's important to preserve the forests of the world. Because there are ecological and biological reasons, and of course the human necessity for oxygen and a human connection to nature that won't be known to the majority of people who adore this new god called economy or capitalism. These individuals, the grand majority of the time, won't acknowledge where they come from or what gives them life. And Still Wild and Still Threatened was an organization that was brought to my attention that's been doing it really strong for the last 4 years. Been arrested and been through the gutter, have felt the wrath of what capitalism can do to a human being when you don't seem profitable or don't seem like you can give something to the human race in the process of protecting whatever it is you're trying to protect. It's kind of like people believe that those individuals who are standing there in front of these trees are actually saying, hey, don't kill beauty, or hey, I appreciate this, it's cute, don't kill it. It has absolutely nothing to do with that. And I am an adamant activist in the process of educating people around the world on the fact that it has nothing to do with just the beauty of these forests. That's not why people are trying to save them. It's because we need it for our existence. Oxygen comes from these trees. You decimate the oxygen in your society, in your surrounding environment, you are killing your kids. You're basically saying, hey children, why don't you sit down in front of computers, get lard-butted and fat, sit in a house for 90% of your days, like the grand majority of cities in the United States, and never go out as long as you live, because there's nothing to see but a bunch of baby trees that were replanted on some dry land that's about to be irrigation salt flats in about 4 years. This whole thing, it's just like, it's a complete sheer utter disrespect, to what gives you life. And the whole thing is that it's unsustainable. And I just, I get that people want jobs, and I get that people need to work, but I also get that the human race has evolved for thousands of years to get to this place. And it's like, if evolution is a big part of our, advocacy towards living and towards existence, then why don't human beings acknowledge that there is an unsustainability to this capitalistic way of living, the overconsumption of the world? The grand majority of people don't really understand the gravity of it, because the smallest amounts of the population on the planet have been the ones who have been over-consuming. So development has only been experienced by the West, and progression, this so-called way of living, has been experienced by the West. But the biggest populations on the planet, people, are third world, what used to be third world countries that are now developing countries with a middle class that are using America and England and Europe as an example on how to live. So you understand that the biggest populations on the planet are about to start consuming the way that Americans do. The only thing that's keeping the balance of this planet are the Indians that are vegetarians. I'm not saying the whole entire planet needs to eat nothing but plants and no cows that decimate forests and you have to make flatlands for and grow grass for. Not even talking about that, and I'm not talking about the fish, that you have to feed to the pigs for this new growth of pig meat that's growing around the world. There's this new hunger for imported pig meat. I'm talking about India and China being the biggest populations on the planet and growing a middle class that is using the Western world and the capitalistic ways of overconsumption as an example on how to live. And it's unsustainable. And if we in developed countries don't set an example for them, we're fucked. There's absolutely no other way to explain it. And all I'm trying to say is that today with technology in our generation, God, I should be really, really grateful and at the same time hurting. My generation was introduced to technology, internet, saturation of information, so many things that we've been gifted, and they're considered gifts. But people in their 30s, late 20s, Generation Y, the millennium age that came after Gen X is pretty much screwed because we've spent so much time socializing and adapting to this new technological era that we've forgotten our roots. We've forgotten what gives us life and how to sustain it and respect that. And now I'm playing a catch-up game, man, and I'm feeling sorry for me and everybody else who's in my shoes because you know what? I'm even scared to have a child. There's millions of people in poor countries having kids like nothing, like water, without even having the sustenance or the nutrition to be able to bring that kid a happy life. But they're doing it. And me, I'm scared to have a kid because I know I've been gifted with information. I've been gifted with biology. I've been gifted with ecology. I've been gifted with the internet and the ability to research what scientists have spent the last 20, 30 years researching. In a paragraph, I can read 20 to 30 years of experience from an individual. Do you understand what gift that is? It's the most beautiful thing. And we just shun it and become overwhelmed with it and don't even know what we want to do with our lives the grand majority of the time. But it's like, now I just kind of woke up one day and I was like, holy shit, that's a big responsibility. And I can't just ignore it, go somewhere, get drunk in a bar and pretend it doesn't exist. It's real, And I'm just really glad that Still Wild and Still Threatened is out there, trying to, in Tasmania, protect these amazing forests that, you know what? Eventually, and I'll tell you, I'm going to dedicate a very big amount of my life to this, is configuring how people can become attracted, both economically and sustainably, to these beautiful forests and make them useful again. Because you know what? I prefer to be in a building that's surrounded by great oak trees, or in a building that has a 500-year-old fern in the center that still gets sun, and eat my food in a bed and breakfast in the middle of the freaking woods than I am to be in some sort of stone, concoction made up by some German, modernist, where everything's square and strict and slick. Because I respect the Mother Nature and I love her so much that I want her integrated and married to the technological era that I've been bred to. So, help with that marriage. Let's arrange it. It's the only time I'm down with an arranged marriage is with the whole technology marrying, Mother Nature. Let's respect the women in our lives and hope that they don't all become men because of capitalism. You know what I mean? Because God knows some of those chicks in power, dude, they're kind of masculine. You know what I mean? The motherly tendencies have gone away because they've adapted to a system that's very, about,
Thank you, Michelle.
creation.